That is so big. I got goosebumps. Right now. That is so big. And we just now saw, not to go cheesy and corporate on us, that you just now saw the effect of an ERG.
Exactly.
Hi everyone, I'm your host, John Ong. Welcome back to Pride Talk, a podcast presented by NAP Pride. This podcast features conversations with Asian American LGBTQ+ professionals and our allies. To learn more about NAP Pride, please visit our website at pride.nap.org. On this episode of Pride Talk, I'm turning my co-host, David, into my guest. I asked him about his bicultural heritage and how he discovered the Vietnamese half of his identity. Here's our conversation. Today, our focus is to talk about David more.
Yes.
We're going to talk to David about David. I know you for 7 years. Other people may not know you. Some NAP people might know you, but
I don't think they really know me.
Yeah, I don't think so too.
Yeah.
And I don't even know some of these answers, so I can't wait. So what do you do for a living?
What do I do?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, currently, I'm a production designer at Hallmark Cards, and I've been at Hallmark for, let's see, I just celebrated my 18th year anniversary. Yeah, I'm one of the old ones there now.
Oh my gosh.
I remember when I first started and people said, well, I've been here 20 years or 30 years. I'm like, oh, that seems like such a long time.
That is so true for Hallmark.
But 18 years have gone so fast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It really has gone fast. But yeah, and I work on the cultural identity team, which is an added bonus for me. I love working on that team because it's all about the product like Vita, for our Hispanic consumer, and Mahogany for our African-American consumer, Tree of Life, kind of our Jewish celebration lines. And now we have a couple of Asian lines that will be coming out soon. So I'm so excited about that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So it is a very eclectic and diverse group of product, which I really love because it never looks the same. It's always different. And you're working with different voice, in the editorial because there's a different voice for each consumer. So I really do love working on the team. And the people I work with are great too. So that's what I do for my day job.
Yes.
And then on the side, I also decided to go back to school. So I'm like a 50-year-old student, so that's kind of weird, but that's okay. I don't care.
Yeah.
I decided to go back to school and actually,
for what?
I'm studying apparel design now, which is something I've always wanted to do. But I was always told, when I was first showing interest in that, and this kind of goes back to kind of my upbringing, I was like, boys don't do that.
Oh.
Only gay men do that. Or women do that. That's kind of what I was told as I was growing up.
Yeah.
So it kind of pushed me away from that. And I said, well, what else can I do creatively?
Did you ever do anything or did you just think about it?
No, then? I actually, after I graduated high school, I did go to Columbia College, which is in Columbia, Missouri. Not the one in the big Columbia, but the small college in Missouri, and studied fashion design for a year.
And that's your interest, obviously. That's like what you really want to do.
That's really what I wanted to do. And then during that year, I decided to apply to go to Parsons School of Design in New York, which was like the ultimate dream for me. Everybody said Parsons is the place to go. But I'm like, I'm from Knob Noster, Missouri. Who from Knob Noster, Missouri goes to Parsons in New York, right? So I applied and I sent in, my portfolio and everything. And I didn't have enough confidence in myself to think that I could ever possibly get that.
Right.
And I didn't hear anything for a while. So my school bills were racking up after the first year because it was a private college. And it was putting some financial strain on my parents also because they were helping me.
Right.
So I didn't hear anything. So I said, what can I do? So I decided to join the Army.
How did that happen? Why did even joining the Army?
Funny thing is my best friend, I think the one that probably knew I was gay before I even really acknowledged that I was gay. She joined the Army.
Oh.
And I said, and it was like, okay, let's join the Army and we can go travel the world, and see things and get out of this small town. At the time, the goal was to kind of get away from small town Missouri.
Just for context-wise, not to, like, you already said the 50s and nothing like age you or anything.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm
but
50.
no, like what time period about? Like,
I graduated high school in 1986.
So like in 80s is when you're thinking about joining the Army.
Yeah. So I went and signed up, and it wasn't until after I committed myself to the Army, I got a letter from Parsons.
Oh, acceptance.
And not only was I accepted, I got a scholarship.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And
I did not know that, people.
Yeah, see,
I did not
you're
know
finding
that.
out things about me. And so I had already signed my paperwork for the Army, and I think still I didn't have the confidence in myself. I thought, I could actually, New York seems so far.
You're right.
And all the things that you saw on TV and in movies at that time showed New York as a really bad and dirty place. Because it was at that time. And I didn't know if I could survive. Plus, again, I'd already made the commitment to serve. And so I followed through with that and joined the Army. I think maybe a part of me thought, too, I could always go back to it after I get out.
Right.
But then things changed, during my journey through the military. So that didn't happen. But, yeah, so fashion has always been kind of there. And then after I joined the Army, I just kind of put it in the back burner, like, it's never going to happen. Right. But now I realize that a community college right down the street from where I live offers an apparel design program. And I said, if not now, when?
Yeah.
And it's not like I have to do it to get a job.
Right.
I'm doing it because I'm passionate
space, right?
about it. Yeah. I'm not doing it so that I can get a paycheck. I don't feel like I have to rush through it so I can hurry up and get a job. I'm really doing it to learn the skill and the craft of designing clothes, which is something I've always had an interest in.
Right. What else do you do at work at Hallmark?
I'm also the chair of the Asian American Employee Resource Group, which is called ARCH. I think I've been involved with ARCH now.
When did you start?
6 years, because it was Julie Cohen who was my supervisor at the time.
Yes.
It was right around the time that you joined.
I joined, yeah.
And she came up to me, and the interesting thing is other people had asked me to join this employee resource group. But as we'll find out later on, too, as we talk more about my story, I never really identified as Asian.
Yeah.
And partly because even though I was born in Vietnam, I left when I was 3.
Yeah.
And the big thing for my mom was for me to be as American as possible, to kind of
assimilate,
to be like my father, because I have a Caucasian American father. And plus we had moved to Spain right out of leaving Vietnam. We went to Spain. So the task at hand was for me to learn Spanish and English. So Vietnamese kind of went to the back burner. It was be like the place where you were at and with the people who you are with. So I really didn't grow up identifying as Asian. I think the only time I ever thought about it is when I looked in the mirror or when I saw my mother. Other than that, all my friends were all,
right.
Well, actually being in the military, it's very diverse.
Yeah.
So there was African American, there was a lot of Asians, there was Hispanic, there was a lot. So I never saw myself as different in that sense, which was good. That didn't happen until we moved back to the U.S. And then all of a sudden I was around a lot of Caucasian children that then I started to get that sense of, oh, I'm a little bit different and in more ways than one, So, and then, so those are the things I do kind of at work. But then outside of work, on top of being a student, I'm also involved with NAP Kansas City. I'm the vice president of strategic development with NAP Kansas City. And now I'm one of the founding members of NAP Pride.
Yeah.
So that keeps me busy too. And I'm also on the board of the Unicorn Theater, local theater.
I'm tired already.
But those are things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
All these things that I'm doing now are the things that I'm passionate about. So I learned to say no to the things that I don't want to give time to or know that I can't give 100% to.
Right.
And then I put my energy into those things that I am really passionate about, because those are the things that I'm willing to stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning to work on.
Right.
After my day job.
That's you talk a little bit about that, and let's go straight into that, into your heritage, because I am a first generation American, and so my identity is still very attached to me.
Right.
And I can see like generations of like the third generation Asian American who would not probably think about their Asian identity the same way I do. Not that they don't pay attention to it, they do. Especially the young Asian American, like second, third generations, are really paying a lot of attention for different purposes, like for representation and all that.
Right.
So I want to talk about that because, and I think this podcast is the one that we particularly want to talk about this, because our focus is not only on LGBTQ plus community. Our focus is on Asian American LGBTQ plus community, more specifically professionals and people at work as well. We want to talk about that, but in general, Asian American. So tell us about your heritage, your cultural background.
Well, my mother's Vietnamese. I was born in Saigon. I don't have any memory of Vietnam at all, other than when I went back, but that's a different story. But from my childhood, I have no memories except from what my mom has told me and from the photographs that I've seen of myself in Vietnam. Now, like I said, I left when I was 3. My father was being sent back to the U.S. and then to his next duty, which was going to be in Spain. And
Dad was in the military.
Yes, my dad was Air Force.
Yeah.
And met my mother while he was serving in Vietnam. And I was born in 1968, which was kind of the height of the Vietnam War. That's when a lot of major action was happening. And from what I know that my mom has shared with me, neither of my parents shared too much about the Vietnam experience, which is understandable.
It's a
probably
painful,
pretty traumatic for them, and probably some things were done that had to be done for survival.
right?
That you just don't want to talk about. And so I respect that.
Yeah.
But I know that my dad had to do a lot of paperwork and do a lot of negotiating and other things to get me and my mom out of the country.
Right.
And to be able to come over to the U.S. with him. And then we went to Spain, which I think was a good thing because there was a lot of anti-Vietnam, anti-Vietnamese in the U.S. at the time, understandably, of course, that we were in Spain, and I never really got that. I didn't get bullied because of that or anything like that. My childhood growing up, I actually had a very, I think, happy childhood as a young child.
Yeah.
My parents were really good at taking me to travel all over Spain. Any free time my dad had, we were traveling. We were going to visit all the castles and the museums. I wish now I had paid attention, because now it's like, oh my God, all those art museums, like in Madrid and,
Do you want to go back?
I did go back when I joined the military and was stationed in Europe. I actually took the train and went back to the town that we lived in the Air Force Base where my dad was stationed, and then kind of backtracked a little bit and visited some of the places.
Cool.
You
visited as a child.
Yes, because I don't really remember the experience as a child. I just have the photos to say you were there. But I think it was great that my parents were, that kind of parent that said, we're going to take our child out to experience the world.
The culture,
Yeah, and I wasn't secluded somewhere. So I feel like my childhood was very, although my dad was gone a lot, that's why I believe I have a really close relationship with my mother, because it was just me and her, and then eventually my brother came along. He was born in Spain.
Your younger brother.
My younger brother. Yeah. But my mom and I did so many things together. When my dad was on TDY, because he had to go to like Cyprus for a while, so he left. And my mom and I would go to the movies. We would go to grocery. We would do everything together. It was just me and her. I can
tell that you have a really, really tight relationship with your mom.
Yeah. But we never connected on like a cultural aspect or ethnic background. Except for maybe the food that she cooked.
Yeah.
And I do remember in the early days that because she was Buddhist, I do remember seeing the little temple set, the shrine set up, and her, burning the incense and praying. But as I got older, that kind of went away. But she never included me in it or required that I do it. And I'm thankful for that too, that neither of my parents, no matter what their religious beliefs were, they never really imposed them on me. They let me kind of discover that on my own.
Okay, let you discover it yourself.
Yeah.
I'm going to clear my throat. And I'm not cutting that out.
It's real life.
Yeah, this is real life.
That's right.
I joke sometimes.
Was there more that you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, we can come back to it too,
Okay.
but I think so. The idea is for people to identify. So now, when you see David Moore in the convention, you can tell, oh, he's Vietnamese or whatever.
But that's also why I was hesitant. To join, because people said join Arch so that you can help, the Asian American community. But I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, well,
you don't know if you're qualified.
Right. I don't know if I was qualified because I really don't have the knowledge. I don't speak the language.
Yeah.
I really don't know how to cook the food.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't know that much about Vietnam. The one good thing about getting involved with Arch, it forced me to look at that.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to feel like that I was informed. But also one thing that I learned too is that you don't have to know everything.
Yeah.
And that's why you have those people around you that you can reach out to. So if somebody asks something about Korea or the Philippines, you don't have to know that.
Right.
But you know where to go to find that information.
You know what I found interesting is like even I can be more Asian, right? I could be more Asian, and I grew up in Asia, so my identity is it's all Asian. But joining Arch also scares me a little bit. I'm like, now I have to tell people about things that is just normally just my being, who I am. Now I have to then explain, and I feel like I'm not qualified to explain that to represent the whole Asian community. So I had that fear also. That's why I want to emphasize on personal and individual stories, and collectively then we will have a stronger and better represented voice. If we don't hear our individual voices, if we only talk to David, and this is all about, it would be fun actually, you're gonna have a show, but if it's just David and I sit down and talk about that and represent the whole Pride Talk and Net Pride community, then it's probably not right.
No.
But we want
It's one
different
view.
voices. Yeah, it's one view. Two.
Yeah.
That's interesting to hear. So what did that change you? How did that getting involved in the Asian ERG at Hallmark change how you view yourself?
Your
identity?
It did change. And parts of it too are also because of growing up and my mom not wanting me to be Vietnamese. The message I got was don't be. And that kind of continued through my growing up too. Don't be this. Don't be that. Okay, don't be Vietnamese here. And then later you're starting getting messages from society. Don't be gay. Don't be feminine. So all along I was constantly getting don't be. So how can you be your real self and be authentic when the message that you're getting from everybody is don't be you, basically is what they're saying.
Right.
So I grew up, I think, believing that my voice did not have value. And I think that was part also of why I was hesitant to join Arch. And people that know me, I think I have the perception of being an introvert because I'm very quiet.
Yeah.
But I don't really think I'm an introvert. I think the reason that I'm silent is I have never really understood the value of my voice or that it had a place until I joined Arch. And
wait,
joined...
that is so big. I got goosebumps right now. That is so big. And we just now saw, not to go cheesy and corporate on us, that you just now saw the effect of an ERG.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly. That no matter what else it did, it helped me find my voice.
Yeah.
And I contribute that to Michael Gonzalez a lot because, and also to Julie, who reached out to me. Because when she reached out to me, she didn't reach out to me and say, you should join because you're Asian. What she said to me is, I see you have good design skills and we need a good designer. So she knew me.
Yes.
And she wasn't trying to sell me on the organization.
Yeah.
But she said, you have a talent.
Yes.
And we see it, and it could be an advantage to our organization.
Bring value to
right. And so I think that was one of the first times that I think that I said, right, that my voice had value. And then, of course, as it happens within Arch, as you get more involved, then they want you to become, move up.
Yes.
And take on more responsibility. Yes. So then I was asked to be like the social chair, involved in activities and, planning. And then after that...
Making flowers for Diwali.
Yes. So many things. Well, back then, we only had one chair that was for social and communications. Yes. So we did it all. So, but then I was asked to be vice chair. And I remember very clearly, and it was actually, your brother was chair at that time.
Michael, I work with my brother in the same company. And it's not weird because we were competitors for 10 years. The first 10 years of my career, we were competitors. But now we work together in the same company.
Yeah, but he asked me to be his vice chair. I was scared because I knew that would then lead to being the chair. Yes. And the chair has a lot of responsibility and a lot of visibility. Yeah. And I didn't think I was ready at the time. But he showed that he had confidence in me. Mm-hmm. So again, that was another person that added value, that saw value in my voice.
Right.
And then I remember Michael Gonzalez sharing with me that, and I appreciate the fact that he did share this with me, that the CDIC, the Corporate Diversity and Inclusion Council, at that time, I think people were a little concerned that I was going to be the chair because the perception was I am so quiet.
Yeah.
And would I be able to contribute? Because one of the great things at Hallmark at that time was that as the chair, you sit at the table with these corporate leaders. Mm-hmm. And I think they were a little concerned that I would be able to contribute and bring something to the table. And he shared that with me, and I'm glad he did share that with me. But at the end of the year, he said that he's so glad that I did because he saw that I kind of blossomed, as you might say, in that year.
Right.
Of being vice chair. Mm-hmm. I was very quiet then because I also wanted to respect the fact that Michael, your brother, was the chair at the time. Yes. And I was learning from him.
Right.
And learning from how he operated in those situations. But then when it was my turn to be the chair, I think I really kind of came out of my shell. Mm-hmm. But it was because of these people who showed confidence in me and said, and I think that's what makes a good leader too. As we're talking about professional organizations and NAP being an organization that builds leaders, they were showing good leadership in the sense that they were able to nurture that or see something and be able to tell me, we see it. Yeah. You may not be able to get it out of you right now, but we see it and we're going to give you that opportunity.
Right.
And then I took advantage of that opportunity, But so I think it was those years of just being told your voice has no value. But now, because of that, anybody that would have known me 5 years ago would never have said that they would see me as the chair of this organization or serving on this board or, being like on the unicorn board or anything like that.
And as a friend, the speaking publicly, I know it's not something that you like, I want to speak publicly.
No. Yeah.
But you appear to be so comfortable and so confident now. Even just compare with like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The last thing I heard you recently was like, if you don't know David prior to right now, you would not have known that you would want to. You have to struggle, not struggle, but it's like speaking publicly is not something that you crave to do.
Right.
But you cannot tell anymore.
Yeah.
So
I think I learned that I have something valuable to say and to contribute.
That's a thing in presence when people like go up there when they speak in their presence, and I deal with that a lot because I'm a performer. It's when you find a purpose in your voice, then your voice is now louder. When there's no purpose in saying what you're saying because you're like, my opinion is not it's not important,
right.
Then you will come across as you're timid.
Yes.
But when you know there's a purpose of why we're saying these words, then it becomes confident and it becomes that creates presence.
Yeah.
Some people go up there and then now you want to hear them talk, so they have the presence because there's confidence in their voice.
And if you're talking about something that you're passionate about, and then all of a sudden your voice has some authority in it,
And passion, you can always lean back to why you are passionate about it because there's a meaning behind the thing that you do. It means something to you, and therefore that gives you the confidence too.
Right.
I hope you get to learn a little bit more about David. I think it's very inspirational to see how he went from being extremely quiet to discovering the true value of his own voice. And today, he is a leader in various organizations in his life. Share your comments with us about my conversation with David. You can email us at pridetalk@nap.org. That's pridetalk@nbsp.org. You can even call us, leave us a voice comment. Our number is 4197-PRIDE-5, 4197-PRIDE-5. And of course, you can always find all this information on our show notes as well as on our website, pride.nap.org. On the next episode, you don't want to miss this, David will share with us how and when he first realized he's gay and how he tried to stay invisible as a shield from harm. Until the next episode, remember this, representation matters. So be seen, be heard, be loud, and be proud. Goodbye.